The internet didn't just wake up today, it detonated. No warning, no build-up, just a sudden, violent shockwave that ripped through the entire dancehall world in seconds. 1 minute, everything was quiet. The next, timelines were flooding, phones were blowing up, and a single leaked clip had everyone asking the same question in disbelief. Did this just happen? Because what started as a routine studio collab has now turned into something far more dangerous. A moment that feels less like music and more like a declaration. A message. A line drawn in the sand that nobody can ignore. Fans are scrambling, replaying the footage over and over, trying to catch every word, every tone, every hidden meaning buried inside a few seconds that may have just changed everything. And just when people thought they understood what they were hearing, another bomb drops. A legal storm quietly brewing behind the scenes suddenly bursts into the spotlight. Documents. Claims. Whispers of betrayal and power moves that go way deeper than anyone expected. Now it's not just about music anymore. It's about reputation, legacy, and a situation that's spiraling out of control faster than anyone can contain it. But here's where it gets even crazier. Because right in the middle of all this chaos, a reaction surfaces, and it doesn't calm things down. It fuels the fire. A look, a tone, a message that fans are decoding like it's a hidden warning. Is it support? Is it shade? Or is it something far more calculated that's about to push this entire situation into a level no one is ready for? And if you think that's where it stops, you're already behind. Because what's coming next, what's about to be revealed, might just expose everything. Because what's coming next, what's about to be revealed, might just expose everything. And the moment that realization hit the internet, the entire atmosphere shifted from curiosity to full-blown panic. People weren't just watching anymore, they were bracing themselves. It started with a second clip. Not the same one everyone had already dissected. This one was different. Longer. Clearer. And way more dangerous. It surfaced on a private page first, then jumped platforms within minutes like it had a mind of its own. No watermark. No explanation. Just raw footage from inside what looked like a late-night studio session. The lighting was dim, the bass was heavy, but the tension? You could feel it through the screen. Voices in the background. Someone pacing. Someone else laughing, but not the kind of laugh that sounds friendly. The kind that makes your stomach tighten. And then, right before the clip cuts, a line drops. Sharp. Direct. No room for interpretation. Not loud, but deadly precise. The kind of line that doesn't need volume to make impact. Within seconds, the internet lost control. Fan pages didn't even try to stay neutral. They picked sides instantly. Threads exploded. That's a diss. No way that's accidental. He knew exactly what he was doing. And just like that, the conversation went from speculation to certainty. People weren't asking if it was a shot anymore. They were asking what happens next. And that's when the old clips started resurfacing. Interviews from years ago. Lyrics people ignored at the time. Moments that once felt harmless suddenly looked different under this new light. It was like watching a puzzle assemble itself in real time. Every piece clicking into place, revealing a bigger picture no one was prepared for. But behind the scenes, things were getting messy. Because while fans were arguing in public, something else was happening in private. Messages. Not rumors, actual screenshots. Conversations that were never meant to leave locked phones. The first leak looked small. Just a few lines. But the tone? Cold. Controlled. Someone trying to keep things calm, while clearly failing. Then came the voice notes. Distorted at first, like someone tried to hide the identity. But the emotion? Impossible to mask. Raised voices. Interruptions. One person demanding answers, the other dodging, deflecting, refusing to say too much, but saying enough to make it clear this wasn't just about music anymore. This wasn't the plan. That one sentence hit harder than anything else. Because suddenly, the narrative flipped again. If this wasn't planned, then what was it? A mistake? A reaction? Or something that slipped out in a moment that can't be taken back? Fans didn't wait for answers. They created their own. Theories started flooding timelines. Some said it was a calculated move to shake the industry. Others believed it was personal, something deeper, something that had been building for years behind closed doors. And a few, a very loud few, started claiming this was just the beginning of something much bigger. And then, just as the chaos reached its peak, the lawsuit details hit. Not rumors. Not whispers. Actual filings. Pages of legal language that most people couldn't even fully understand, but they didn't need to. Because certain words stood out immediately. Words that don't belong in casual conversation. Words that signal conflict at a level most artists try to avoid at all costs. Screenshots of the documents spread like wildfire. Highlighted sections. Zoomed-in paragraphs. Everyone suddenly became an analyst, breaking down what it could mean, what it might lead to, and who could be affected next. But one detail kept coming up again and again. Timing. The timing made no sense. Why no? Why at the exact moment this music controversy was exploding? Coincidence? Or something more strategic? Something planned behind the scenes while the public was distracted by something else? That question alone was enough to push the situation into overdrive. Because now, people weren't just connecting dots, they were drawing lines that hadn't even been confirmed. And right in the middle of all this? Silence. No official statements. No clarifications. Just a few subtle moves that only made things worse. A post that goes up, then disappears. A comment that gets deleted within seconds. A follow that suddenly turns into an unfollow. Small actions, but in a moment like this, every detail feels like a signal. Fans noticed everything. Nothing slipped through. And then came the moment that changed the tone completely. A reaction video. Not loud. Not aggressive. But controlled. Measured. The kind of response that doesn't scream, it watches. It calculates. It lets the chaos unfold while quietly adding fuel to the fire. Every pause felt intentional. Every word carefully chosen. And somehow, that made it more powerful than any direct statement could have been. People replayed it endlessly. What does that mean? Was that a warning? Why does it feel like he knows something we don't? Because that's the thing about moments like this. It's not always what's said, it's what's not said that hits the hardest. And just when it felt like things couldn't get any more intense, they did. Another leak. This time, it wasn't audio. It wasn't video. It was something simpler, but somehow more dangerous. A message. Short. Direct. No emojis. No context. Just a statement that immediately sent shockwaves through every corner of the internet. Don't make this go further. That was it. No name attached. No explanation. But everyone had their own idea of who it came from and who it was meant for. And just like that, the stakes changed again. Because now, this wasn't just entertainment. It felt like a warning. The kind that suggests there's more beneath the surface. The kind that makes people wonder how far this can actually go and who might get caught in the middle if it does. Fan bases that were already on edge became even more aggressive. Defenses turned into attacks. Neutral voices disappeared. It was no longer about understanding, it was about winning. And somewhere in all of this chaos, something else was happening. Quietly. Almost unnoticed. Until someone pointed it out. A scheduled release, suddenly gone. No announcement. No delay notice. Just removed. As if it was never supposed to happen. And that raised a question no one could ignore. Was something pulled because of what just happened? Or was it never meant to drop at all? Because if it was pulled, that means someone made a decision. A fast one. A strategic one. The kind of decision that only happens when something bigger is at risk. And if that's true, then this situation isn't just messy. It's controlled. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because when chaos looks accidental, but feels controlled, it usually means there's a move being prepared behind the scenes. A move no one sees coming. A move that doesn't just respond to the situation, but flips it completely. And right now, all signs are pointing to one thing: something is about to drop. Not a leak. Not a hint. Not speculation. Something official. Something direct. Something that won't leave room for interpretation. And if even half of what insiders are hinting at is true, then the next move won't just respond to the chaos. It will decide who survives it. It will decide who survives it. And the moment that realization started spreading, everything slowed down, but not in a calm way. In a tense, suffocating way. Like the entire scene was holding its breath, waiting for something to hit. No one knew when. No one knew how. But everyone felt it coming. Then, without warning, a timestamp appeared. No caption. No explanation. Just a time post. That timestamp matched the exact moment from the second studio video, right before the audio cut out. Now everything changed again. Because if that moment was being highlighted, it meant something was hidden there. Something important enough to circle back to. Within minutes, edited versions started flooding the timeline. Enhanced audio, cleaned up visuals. People isolating background noise, boosting frequencies, trying to pull out anything that had been missed the first time. And then someone caught it. Not a full sentence. Not even a clear statement. Just a fragment. A name. Followed by a pause. And then what sounded like a warning, quiet, controlled, but unmistakably serious. That fragment spread faster than anything before it. Because now, for the first time, it felt specific. No more guessing. No more broad theories. This pointed somewhere. Directly. And once people locked onto that idea, the reactions became explosive. Comments weren't speculative anymore, they were confident. Assertive. Almost aggressive. This is targeted. This isn't music, it's personal. There's history here we don't know about. And that's when the deep dives began. Old studio photos resurfaced. Clips of past link-ups that once looked friendly were now being reinterpreted as tense, awkward, even staged. Fans started analyzing body language, tone shifts, subtle expressions. Moments that lasted seconds suddenly carried meaning that stretched for years. But while the public was digging into the past, something else was unfolding in real time. Another account went live. No announcement. No build-up. Just a sudden stream that pulled in thousands within seconds. The camera angle was off. The lighting was low. And the person on screen didn't say anything at first. They just stared. That silence alone sent the chat into chaos. Comments flew by so fast they blurred together. People demanding answers, asking questions, throwing accusations. And then, finally, a voice broke through. Calm. Too calm. Not defensive. Not emotional. Just controlled. And that made it even more unsettling. Because instead of denying anything outright, the speaker started choosing words carefully. Acknowledging tension without confirming details. Hinting at misunderstandings, but never clarifying them. It's deeper than what you're seeing. That one line shifted the energy completely. Because now, instead of calming things down, it expanded the situation. Made it bigger. More complex. More dangerous. The chat didn't slow, it intensified. People clipped that exact moment and reposted it everywhere within seconds. And then, just as suddenly as the stream started, it ended. No goodbye. No resolution. Just a black screen. But the damage was already done. Because now there was a new layer to the story, one that couldn't be ignored. A direct presence. A controlled voice. And a statement that suggested the truth hadn't even scratched the surface yet. Behind the scenes, reactions started surfacing from unexpected places. Not direct responses. Not public statements. But movements. Subtle ones. A post liked here. A follow removed there. A story shared and then quickly taken down. People who had stayed silent until now were suddenly active, but not in ways that made sense. It felt coordinated. Or at least, connected. And then came the leak that nobody saw coming. Not from a fan page. Not from an anonymous account. From someone claiming to be inside. The post was long. Detailed. Almost too detailed. It described a private meeting that allegedly took place just hours after the first clip went viral. Who was there? What was said? The tone of the room. The tension. The disagreements. According to the post, voices were raised. Not in anger, but in urgency. People talking over each other, trying to figure out what went wrong, what was said, and most importantly, what could be done next. One line from that leak stood out more than anything else. This wasn't supposed to go public. That phrase hit like a shockwave. Because it confirmed something fans had been suspecting but couldn't prove. That whatever happened in that studio wasn't meant to be heard. That something slipped through. Something real. And once that idea took hold, everything felt different. The clips weren't just entertainment anymore. They were evidence. And the audience wasn't just watching, they were investigating. Every frame, every word, every pause, pulled apart, reassembled, debated, and pushed back into the spotlight again with even more intensity than before. But just as the situation reached a boiling point, another twist. A post appeared from a completely different angle. Not connected to the music. Not directly tied to the leaks. But tied to the legal situation. Short. Sharp. Now the two storylines, the music chaos and the legal storm, weren't separate anymore. They were colliding. Overlapping. Feeding into each other in ways that made the entire situation feel unstable. Because if those two things were connected, then this wasn't just about a diss. It was about something bigger. Something that reached beyond the studio, beyond the track, into areas most people never see. And right when people started to realize that, the internet went quiet. Not completely, but noticeably. Fewer posts. Slower reactions. As if something had shifted behind the scenes. As if conversations were happening privately that changed what people were willing to say publicly. That kind of silence doesn't happen for no reason. It happens when something is about to break. And then, it did. A notification. Simple. Direct. From an official source. No leaks. No speculation. Just an announcement. Something is dropping. No details. No preview. Just a date and a time. And suddenly, all the chaos, all the leaks, all the speculation, it all pointed to that one moment. Because whatever is coming next isn't accidental, isn't uncontrolled. It's deliberate. And if everything leading up to this was just build-up, then what's about to drop won't just respond to the situation. It will expose it. It will expose it. And the moment that announcement hit the internet, everything changed again. But this time, it wasn't chaos. It was anticipation. A different kind of silence spread across timelines. Not confusion, but focus. Like the entire audience had been pulled into the same direction, staring at the same invisible countdown. The date was set. No extra details. No previews. No clarification. Just a time, locked in like a warning shot. And now nobody was guessing anymore. They were waiting. But behind that calm surface, the pressure was building in places people couldn't see. Private group chats went silent. Pages that were posting non-stop suddenly slowed down. Even the loudest fan accounts started shifting tone, as if they understood that anything said now could be outdated in minutes. Because something was coming. And everyone knew it. Then the first crack appeared. Not a leak this time. Not a rumor. A small clip surfaced on a forgotten account, almost like it slipped through by mistake. It wasn't labeled. It wasn't explained. But the moment people played it, they knew it belonged to the same storm. A studio room again. Same energy. Same tension. But this time, the audio was clearer than anything before. And what was heard wasn't just conversation, it was confirmation of conflict. Two voices. Calm at first. Controlled. But the longer it went on, the more the tension rose. Interruptions. Overlapping sentences. Words chosen carefully, but still cutting deep. It wasn't shouting, it was worse. It was restrained frustration. The kind that means things have already gone too far to fix easily. And then came the line that changed everything again. A single sentence. Short. Direct. Heavy. Something about loyalty. Something about trust. Something that suggested this wasn't just about music or business or fame. It was personal. And once that word entered the conversation, everything escalated. The clip spread instantly. Every page picked it up. Every analyst slowed it down. Every fan tried to interpret it differently. But no matter how it was analyzed, the feeling remained the same. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a breakdown. And while the internet was busy dissecting that clip, something else happened in the background. A sudden wave of deletions. Posts disappearing. Comments vanishing. Entire threads wiped clean. Not just by users, but by platforms. It felt coordinated. Controlled. Like someone had decided certain things should not be visible anymore. And that only made people more curious. Because in situations like this, deletion doesn't erase curiosity, it multiplies it. Then came the reaction wave. Not from fans this time, but from connected figures in the industry. Subtle posts, cryptic lines, shared quotes with no context. But every single one pointed toward the same idea: things had gone too far behind the scenes. One post said, "Some doors shouldn't be opened." Another said, "Now everyone will see." No names, no direct references. But everyone understood what they were talking about. And just when it felt like the situation couldn't stretch any further, the lawsuit angle resurfaced again. But this time, it wasn't documents or leaks. It was movement, court updates, filing activity, legal responses being submitted because if it was, then everything so far wasn't random. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't accidental. It was structured. And that thought alone changed how people viewed everything that had happened. But the biggest shift came right before the scheduled moment. A final message appeared. No image, no video, just text. And it was short enough to be ignored, but heavy enough that it couldn't be. Wait for it. That was all. But it was enough. Because now the countdown wasn't just on a date anymore, it was on a moment. A release that people were no longer just expecting, they were preparing for. And when the time finally arrived, the internet didn't just refresh, it froze. Millions of people trying to load the same thing at once. Pages crashing, links slowing down. And then, suddenly, it appeared. The release. Not a leak. Not a rumor. The official drop. And the first few seconds were enough to confirm everything people feared and everything they expected. Because it wasn't just a track. It wasn't just a statement. It was a response. Layered. Direct. Strategic.